The first, I guess I should mention, I think there's a few people online. Is that correct, Mr. Graham? And Mr. Garber, I think, was going to join us online. Okay. So far we have Mrs. Eshelman online and then those of us at the table. And then there are no residence requests to address the board. So we're going to move into the finance contracts, which is number 4A. So I don't know if we can pull that up or if it matters, but you all have it in front of you. We are not voting on these contracts, but we do have 3 contracts under the financial action items that we will take tonight. So you can see the spreadsheet. So I'll just open it up for discussion. These will be on the next agenda, on the next board meeting agenda for approval.
And Mr. Walker, just so that I guess everyone's on the same page, I see a Market Street Sports Group sponsorship from Tomlinson Bomberger.
Mhm.
These are sort of the ongoing, relatively short-term sponsorships that we've been doing for some time. This is not connected to the broader potential capital campaign that the board has been discussing.
That's correct. I think one thing that we did discuss a little bit, just a couple of us, was the fact that there may be some overlap and some concern with what we're doing there and how that meshes with this. I don't think we know what that is yet, but it is something we need to be aware of, and we
Right,
might
no.
need to have further discussion about.
I agree. I mean, I'm not aware of any pending sponsorships or any that may be in the pipeline that at least that I would have concerns with conflicting with a potential broader initiative at this point. But to the extent that others do, that's certainly something that we should discuss.
Thank you. What other comments, questions?
Not related, but Mr. Garber has joined us, and so has Ryan Orr from KCBA.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no questions, this will be on the agenda, so if you come up with anything before then, please go ahead and ask it. And then we'll move on to the next item, which is going to be the approval of, there's 3 contracts here. Centrigix, I don't know if I said that right, ECS, Mid-Atlantic, and JK Environmental. They are all new contracts, so if anybody wants to speak to those, feel free.
I can just provide the update. You've been getting the information on the Centrigix piece that will be used with the state's physical security grant dollars. The ECS is for additional geotechnical testing connected to the high school and facilities projects. So that's additional testing on the field and the stadium sites. And then the JG Environmental, that was relatively new coming in. That Mrs. James, to make sure they are scoping the pipes so they have a full accurate picture on what's needed, replacements, et cetera.
Sewer side of the Buchanan building.
Yep. So they have a true accurate picture, and then the engineers aren't just guessing. They're gonna actually get to see them firsthand in the shape and condition they're in.
Mr. Boberski, do you want to share, and I don't think I caught this, but you shared this with me, related to the first contract there for the 351,000 and some of the stipulations around that?
Yep, it's a year-to-year contract. It's not all upfront. We would be using the physical security grant dollars that have come on a yearly basis from the state with regards to safety and security. It is a safety alert system, and it means that our staff have the ability to call for help no matter where they are on campus, in school, on the fields, parking lots, day, night, et cetera. If it is activated, the building emergency team would get a response, as well as the district safety team. We'd be able to see exactly who's pressing the alert system and where they are to be able to respond quickly. This is the system that was in place in the Appalachia High School in Georgia when they had their shooting this past fall, and the staff were able to use it to put the building in lockdown. That is a secondary provision of the system, is that staff have the ability to generate a lockdown automatically in the event they feel they need one. And we would be working to connect the system to have all 3 police departments get immediate notification of a lockdown should one be pressed, as well as the 911 system, which would expedite police and first emergency responders. In the event that the state funding does not come through, it is written into the contract that we have the automatic out of the contract if we do not have the dollars for that. So our district dollars should not have to go towards this unless we wish to do that moving forward. So it is a year to year, and we will be working with them through the installation, as well as then additional training. So it won't be out of the gate right away at the beginning of the school year, but we'll be working through that. There's also additional dollars that Centegix has secured from the state to give additional credit to us if all the work on the installation is completed by September 30th of 2025. So all of that is factored in, and we will just take this on a year-to-year basis. We've done a lot of reference checking, a lot of working. They've been on site. They've been looking around. They're fully aware of our size and scope and what's needed. So we believe this is another added benefit to us. It does not take away anything, nor does it replace anything. It's an addition to all the other pieces we have, but it is something that all staff would be able to have access to, and it allows for a prompter response.
I just want to say I'm very excited about the potential for this. Thankful that it's not incurring extra cost for us, but I know this is something that I would have really welcomed when I was in the classroom. So I'm glad to see that there's something existing that can fill that need.
Just for the purposes of those that may not have heard some discussion around this, when the new building is started with the high school, what happens to that hardware and that stuff that is in the old part of the building?
What's in the Franklin part will go away and they'll replace with new at that point. So at that point, we would need to use additional grant dollars, which we have available for that. And then the new addition to the high school would receive new equipment because at that point, it'll be at least 3 years old.
And my understanding is if we don't move forward with this now, that those grant dollars would not be available at all, or potentially would not be available, because one of my suggestions was to hold off until we had done the renovations and the new portion of the building, so we didn't waste some of this equipment technically by having to throw it out, which is what will happen.
Yes, but all the items on the Buchanan will remain in place, so it'll just be an add to the Franklin will go away, the Buchanan stays. And it allows us to have it in all of our other buildings as well, so it's not just a high school piece. So that is one advantage of this system, is it covers all of our facilities and all of the geographic boundary of those facilities. So for example, out at East Pete, the footprint of East Pete and the fields, that's still our property, so that's all covered. So if East Pete is out on those fields for a building event and something occurs, the nurse and the building team get immediate notification, and then to divert there.
There's a way to do this project that doesn't require us to put hardware into Franklin and save those dollars. That would be ideal. I don't know if that's possible. We didn't get into that level of detail, but it does feel wasteful to me to outfit Franklin and then tear it down in 2 to 3 years.
So Franklin will be in play for 4 years. So if we don't outfit Franklin now, any staff member on the Franklin side, it would not be, if they were to activate it, it would not register because there's all the devices go along with the classrooms and in the hallways.
Pricing
So-
is also based by the building.
Correct.
So there's really no cost savings by not doing Franklin at the end of the day.
That's also true.
Fair
Good
enough.
point.
Yeah, and all of the radio receivers and everything else that are related to it get moved or would get moved or are in different places. So.
And it also is a secondary backup in the event that the lockdown portion is triggered by an individual. You are not relying on a paging system or a sound system because it is synced automatically in. So you have multiple ways to acknowledge and activate the lockdown, which is a good thing.
So kind of unrelated, I saw something on television the other day that there's some systems where there's drones that can stop an attacker. Has anybody seen anything like that? Mike or Mike?
I have not in a school setting.
Yeah, it was for schools.
Yeah, I've
Have you
not
seen
seen that.
anything like that, Mike?
Not that's practical or cost effective in any way. shape,
I think it's brand spanking new, so might be something interesting.
Good down the road to explore.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they're trying it in a couple schools, I believe, but it looked pretty promising.
Somebody online have a question or
Mrs.
comment?
Eshelman has her hand raised and Mr. Garber as well, so I don't know who wants to go
Okay.
first.
I'll go first. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Hi. I was just thinking a lot about this, and I know we've been getting a lot of information about the Centegix product, and I know the administration has been working through a lot of different things, and I just kind of wanted to put my thoughts out there on it. And I just wrote something to kind of say what I think. That I think safety and security is replacing professional staff and teaching positions when they come up, having smaller class sizes, having enough professional and support staff to meet all of our students' varying needs, and not be stretched too thin. And I understand that these are grant dollars that are really only able to be used for physical safety and security. And like I said before, I think this product will help support our teachers and our staff and our students. So I'm all for it. But I hope we continue to advocate for more dollars from the state level that give more flexibility in their use for safety and security to hire needed staff and positions, because I think that those people and the relationships that they establish with our students are the greatest indicators of safety and a secure environment at Hempfield. So I understand there's ways we have to use this money, but I want to continue to advocate for more flexibility in those dollars for safety and security.
And Mrs. Eshelman and I talked today, and I shared with her that that is a legislative push that needs to happen, because when the budget's passed, they dictate that aspects of the safety dollars are run through the Pennsylvania Commission for Crime and Delinquency, otherwise known as PCCD, and they stipulate then how stringent, if you will, those dollars, what they can or can't be spent on. And so we have to submit everything to them, not actually PDE, and they work through the approval process. They work through the auditing process. We've been audited on several of our grants this year on the safety and security side. So it is very streamlined. I don't disagree getting more flexibility to allow districts to do the self-evaluation to see what's most pressing and priority and use those dollars, and then provide the updates to the state is a valuable thing. But as of right now, it's pretty landlocked in terms of the requirements. So.
Mr. Garber?
Yeah, I would just want to add something to this. I appreciate the staff and everything they've done to find this program and then search it all out. There's a huge part that everybody's kind of missing also, that this not is only a security for safety and security wise, but it also the avenue for EMS and fire that help with that. That's going to be utilized much more, I think, for that than anything else. And so the bang for the buck, where it's getting a pretty robust system, I believe, for what it can do and for the cost for it. So especially because with our grant dollars, that if we lose it and we can't fund it, we have an out. So, but I don't think that, so just gives us a great option.
Yeah, and Mr. Garber's 100% correct on that. Due to the system itself, when the alert goes out, the alert gets pinged based on the closest sensor. And so the sensors will be everywhere. And so you really get a pinpoint exact location of where the individual is, whether you're outside or inside. So that will help in relaying that information as to which doors to get to, where to arrive, especially if they're out in the fields thinking for sports, and some of our youth groups that, in camps and things that our teams work with, as well as all extracurriculars. So there are a lot of advantages there. And in talking with the police chiefs, we've talked with all three, and all are on board and supportive and are willing to work with us to make sure they get the installation So they see exactly what we see when those alerts go out as well.
I have first, I'm all for this. And I do appreciate that we're going to be able to use grants. But I have a question for you, Justin. When you said we were going to potentially lose money by not, like, how many dollars are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What do you mean by that question?
So when you
Lose
share, there
money?
were additional dollars that if we don't move forward and have things in, it's $55,000 of additional support from the state will be
Yeah,
added
okay.
to this.
Thank you.
Well,
It's-
no, what I was talking about, you said we were, the system in Franklin would
Well,
be negated and.
There's
we'd lose money
hardware.
from that.
What I was referring to is there's an upfront hardware cost to outfit Franklin and all the buildings, the high school and every other building. When we tear Franklin down, that hardware is not at the end of its life and will not be used again. So we will have to outfit the new portion of the high school with new hardware.
That connects with all the new.
Correct. That's what I was referring to with wasted dollars. If there's a 10-year life on that hardware, we're going to get 3 to 4 years. I think Mr. Burns said 4. We're only going to see 4 years of that. That hardware will not be reused.
Yeah, the system itself is more of, I hate to use the phrase hardware as a service. But just basically, if you are subscribed to the service, they will replace the hardware regardless of whether it's.
Right. We will have to pay for the additional pieces coming in on the new
Correct.
high school piece, but any of the existing, if a sensor indicates it's not functioning, a new one comes to us automatically. So they'll fix it or we get a new one if they can,
Yeah.
but we will have to outfit, but that is 4 years out for us to,
Mhm.
and we can at that time, and I think it's worth the exploration. Can any of it go over? And I think that is a fair question, depending on how things evolve with the technology. If it can, it should, if it's still very viable.
Well, and I may not be here, but at the end of the day, that'd be a good time to negotiate with them to say, if you want us to continue with paying your monthly software costs for this, at that point, I would say to them, you come and outfit it for free, or we're not going to re-sign. And I'll bet they come and do it for a nil to nothing.
And this is a 3-year contract, so it is, to your point, Mr. Walkenmuth, that will happen before we have to outfit the new expansion.
So what's the life expectancy over any security system like this?
I mean, at this point, they're going to guarantee it 3 years, because that's what the contract is. But other districts that are, and it is relatively new.
Right.
And so districts that we've talked to are either in their 2nd or 3rd year.
Mhm.
So it's still a newer product, so we don't really know the true life expectancy at this point.
So the current hardware that's being used, and granted, I don't have the intricate knowledge like you do, Mike, but what's the life expectancy of that particular system? I mean, if we're waiting for 4 years, what I'm trying to get, is there really a negative?
We don't have anything
loss?
like this at all. So any
No,
of our,
by. No outlay of funds, but even if we had to replace this other,
It could be an
Is there a
additional
loss?
cost. It could be additional cost to us. I don't want to estimate because I'm guessing, Mr. Graham, you have a better idea, but a lot of times this stuff will last 10 years.
Yes and no, since a good chunk of what is being installed is, there's no cabling involved with it. So there's obviously a life expectancy with the battery, but as I said, it's designed as hardware as a service. So as long as we're using the software, emergency responder interfaces and everything like that, the hardware is basically warranty. We're not, if you need a battery replacement, whatever, that there is no charge for
correct,
that.
they take care of that.
So as long as we are subscribed, so to speak, there is no additional hardware cost, obviously, as you put it, yes.
Right.
If we build an entire another wing on the high school, that's a point for negotiation, but.
Yep. But in the 3 years, the yearly cost covers everything.
But because it's a service, there really is no life expectancy because it will just be replaced if anything ever happens to it while that service is active.
It's basically free to us.
No, you pay a yearly fee.
Okay.
But within that
But that's
fee,
covered with the grant.
it covers everything, correct?
So it's basically
Correct.
no cost. to us.
Yep. And again, if the state dollars were to go away, we have the ability, right in the contract, that if we don't have those dollars, they understand we can walk away at no additional penalty to us whatsoever. And we've been very clear with them on that, and they know that. And they work through their attorneys, we work through ours, everybody agreed on that language, so it is crystal clear.
I just had two more thoughts on this. Beyond the things that automatically comes to everybody's mind on emergency and lockdowns. Beyond that, on the regular day-to-day, there is so much value in just behavioral issues within the school. If there's something that comes up and a teacher needs support,
Yep.
It's a click
Yeah.
away. So I think that's a huge thing that will probably see more benefit, more numbers of beneficial events versus the big things that draw all the headlines.
Right.
So I think that's a real
Yep.
positive as far as, behavioral crisis management, all of those kind of things to get the people where the teacher or the student needs them as fast. The second thing I wanted to assure is that when you said a click of the button locates the person, that it is not a tracking system, that faculty and staff will not be tracked throughout the building, where their comings and goings are. It doesn't ping until it's clicked
Correct.
to say, this is where I am.
Yep.
Come help me.
Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure that is clear, that there's no issues of privacy or
Yep.
tracking that people are concerned with.
And they are very clear about that. It absolutely cannot and does not track unless the button is activated, and all it does is indicate where the person is at the time it is pushed and activated. So, yep.
Ms. Eshelman does have her hand up again.
And I just wanted to say, like, I appreciate that the 3-year contract with that 1-year caveat, all the work you guys did on that, because I think that's really important. I think it'll give the district the opportunity to see the value of the service before we have to spend more money. Like, so when we do like make those decisions about the high school and renovations and things like that, we'll have a lot more data and information about how our district uses it and how successful it's been, to see if those dollars going forward are the investment we want to make.
All right, hearing no other questions, I need a motion and a second for the approval of these 3 contracts.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. No, 7. 7. 7-0 passes. All right. If there's nothing else, that concludes the financial
like to-
committee.
I'd like to have Mr. Bremersky, can you give us an update of the state budget as well as the federal funds? Just a brief update. I know you put that in our weekly board news.
Yep.
Just kind of where we're at on both of those.
Just received from the Acting Secretary of Education, Dr. Rowe, this afternoon at 2:00. There is currently no state budget. The issues with the House and Senate must find agreement. They say are challenging ones: our public funding, keeping mass transit, the powers of our economy afloat while improving our roads, bridges, investing in the Commonwealth's future. Negotiations are continuing. The dialogue is respectful and productive. Finding agreement can be slow moving. We've not yet come to an agreement. So in short term, what it means is that districts will not receive basic ed funding or special education funding for July and August. State subsidies such as Social Security, pupil transportation, and varying payments are looking to be paid in August. Federal subgrants, including payment under Title I, nothing is happening at this point, even though we did or will be submitting our Title I application. Pre-K counts, which we are the lead agent is Owl Hill. The pre-K counts will not receive their funds at this point, which could impact the ability to retain and enroll staff. Head Start is not receiving payment for programming until the budget is at least for July and August. So you can see things are just not going to be rolling on the state side. On the federal side, we have not received any updates from the state, but I did get updates. There was news, I think it was Friday, that the U.S. Department of Education was releasing the remaining federal funds, which were frozen. For us, that would be for Titles 2, 3, and 4. However, We have not heard anything, not seen anything as to if that's happening or not. But it is important to note those dollars don't come directly to us. Those dollars go from the federal government to the PDE. We have to submit our federal programs application to PDE, and then it gets reviewed, and then dollars flow from PDE to us. As of today, we do not have the ability to even enter our application for Titles 2, 3, and 4. I don't know what that means, if they will allow us to go back retroactively, given the delay. But typically, the way federal programs works is you cannot spend federal program dollars until your application is submitted. So our Title I application will be in and be ready. The board will be approving that in August, and then Dr. Dandridge will be submitting it the day after. But I don't know what will happen for Titles 2, 3, and 4 from a timeline standpoint. My hope is that they will allow us to go backwards and do that retro piece, but we won't know until we get information. So
That was the 300,000 that we talked
about
about.
305,000 is the federal side.
And we have no idea on the adequacy funds, the 700,000. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Mr. Gainer.
is it, Mrs. Hall, is it safe to say that since this is the time of year when real estate taxes are coming due, that there's a sufficient influx of tax dollars that we can afford to ride out the state budget impasse for many months at this point?
That's correct.
Okay.
70% of our revenue is local, and we do collect the large portion of it in the first month.
Okay,
So
thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, that concludes the Finance Committee. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Maris for the facilities.
All right, thank you, Justin. First, we're going to have an update on the high school project.
Yep,
Um,
That's me.
That's you, that's
That's me.
Mr. Bremersky, representing KCBA.
Yep. So we met yesterday. We've been meeting with them regularly. They were out yesterday, and we thought this would just be an easy piece just to give you an update as to where things stood. I do have some slides for you to see. We'll kind of just walk through.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yep, that's fine. And I know Ryan from KCBA is on the call, so if it's something I can't answer, he certainly can, but I feel like we're in good shape here. And there's good news to share. Okay. So if you go to the next slide, what you're going to see there, you may have to, I think there's some transitions, Mike, so. So what you'll see from an initial budget, this was way back at the very beginning, talking about, ballpark, what it might mean in terms of the budget, in terms of the Buchanan, the PAC, the Franklin demo, adding new. And again, this was just preliminary ballpark. Hit the next slide. You see the budget of 211 million. We went through the schematic design phase, and we shared with you that, which is common as you go through that phase, and they get everything in the system, and then they get the draft drawings, and then they work to estimate it and the pricing of everything. And you saw that there was an increase in what that looked like, and we shared with you, don't panic. We have to go back, keep working through things. This is kind of the normal process. We were around the 235 million at that point. We've since that meeting been working back and forth nonstop with the teams. If you go to the next slide, we worked through things and worked to readjust and readjust. We got down to 221 million. You go to the next slide, we kept working, and you see now we're around $209 million. Through all of that, we still have work to do over the next month or so to kind of really refine and make sure we have some things in place. But good news is we're back on the budget side of things. Yes, it does mean some things had to be adjusted, and that is normal through the process, and there's always give and take. Can't get everything. Dollars are not just coming at will here, so we have to be very mindful of that. Go to the next slide. We are still working through some things. You see in that middle column of round 2, there's about $1.9 million. We're not saying that those dollars are going to necessarily be spent, but we're looking at some additional pieces that we need to go back in on the Buchanan side as well as the new addition side and make some decisions around prioritizing and what that might mean. Again, there's give and take of what all can be done.
Go ahead.
Okay,
finish your sentence.
I do want to just note, going from the 235, when that bumped up, there, it was shared with you, from the KCBA and the Fidavia team that a lot of that increase, yes, in some cases was the drawing and expanding on the square footage, just based on initial work, but a lot of that also had to do with increased current prices on mechanical, HVAC, things they were seeing there. Initially, the budget was looking around $125 a square foot. It's coming in now around $155 a square foot. And that's based on current market, based on bids and work that they're seeing today. So we had to figure out how to back out of some things to make kind of that budget work, because the HVAC mechanicals are critical going in.
Right. And I think that goes to what my question was. During our last update, the gentleman from Fidavia suggested that there was some degree of confidence that the current market prices, we might be in a little bit of a bubble, and that they might
Correct.
drop back a little bit, and that based on that, there was some comfort that the original $210 million price was still realistic based on the footprint as we were discussing it a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
If I'm understanding these slides, we're now bringing the budget back in line, but keeping the cost estimates at the higher level, but reducing the footprint. Or am I
Cost-
misunderstanding?
A little bit of both happen. Cost estimates are changing and evolving as we work through it, as well as we're working to make sure we're still refining that footprint, to make sure it's what we need. And the challenge that we have is when you look at Buchanan is a lot, and I'll get to this at the end, is a lot of the renovation pieces. And so there's going to be varying degrees of that renovation. So things will happen differently in some rooms compared to other rooms, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. The cost of those renovations really varies depending on the severity of the renovation. The new addition piece, when you look at the increases of the HVAC, they are monitoring those prices. They do have work and bids coming in over the next several months. There is a big high school project going out to bid in October. And so we should see those bid results coming in, and that is a brand new high school, Pennsbury High School, about 500,000 square feet. So that is going to be what we're hearing from the KCBA and Fidavia team, a great piece for us to look at exact equipment costs, because we are going to be looking at the same type of equipment coming from the same areas. Equipment doesn't change depending on your location. What will change is the labor, based on prevailing wages, things like that.
Right.
So as they start to work to refine these, you are going to see some fluctuation in that. So we're trying to do both. We're trying to watch and monitor pricing, but also trying to ensure that we're not building excess, we're building what we need. And that's what's being
You
worked
can
on.
see, Grant, the square footage has come down.
Yep.
Can you show the previous slide? Because it went up to
It started initially,
15,000 square feet, and now it's down to
the new is 281.
81. So we've cut back on the size.
Yep.
And would you repeat those numbers, please?
So the initial, we looked at initially was around 300,000 square feet for the addition. Once the schematic design phase was done, when everything was calculated, it came in at 315,000 square feet. As we've worked through this and scaled things, we're down to 281,000 square feet. So at the end of the day, when we look at current Franklin and Buchanan, and then looking ahead to Buchanan and the new, this additional square footage will be approximately 70,000 more square feet than we have. But some of that is right sizing the spaces, which is how you end up with a little more square feet. So
So in the process of changing the footprint, what are some of the things that are being made smaller
Yep.
or removed?
you're a great segue to the next couple slides. So Mr. Graham, if you want to go on to the next one. So what you'll see, the blue line indicates existing, and then kind of the red line is what would in a sense be new. So if you hit the next slide, this would be the first floor. Anywhere that is the pink or red color, that was square footage that was condensed, and things were adjusted based on sizing, based on capacity, things like that. If you go to the next slide, which would get to the second floor, and then again, you see what's existing, and then what's new. You see it kind of was brought in. And then the third floor, what was initial to where we are today. These are the things we're still working through because we need to make sure that we still have spacing, the classroom usage, the flow, all of those components. If you go to the next slide. So that was kind of a new kind of squeezing in. This is an important piece on the Buchanan side of things. All the Buchanan side, no matter what building, what room it is, will get new infrastructure with regards to HVAC and LED lighting. And then the team has been working through very intensely what areas would need minor renovation. Again, would be new ceilings because of the lighting, whatnot. I'm sorry, cosmetic was new ceilings and painted walls. Minor, again, you have new ceilings and walls, but you get new flooring, replacing and adding marker boards, and there might be some minimal new casework depending on some of the HVAC units that have to come out, things like that we have to adjust. Moderate, everything from above, but you're also relocation of partitions, so you're making rooms a little bigger or smaller depending. There's moderate casework, and then some of the plumbing fixtures. And then if you get to the major, it's everything from above and all new casework and plumbing systems. Some of the major pieces, this is the, you see the first floor of Buchanan. That's mostly moderate, minor, and cosmetic. The next floor. Here's where you start to see some of the major. A lot of the work will happen on the major pieces on the science classrooms because of the design of those rooms. It's a little hard to see here, but there's some of the rooms you kind of see like a Y coming out from the top and the bottom of the room or the sides of the room. All of that will get completely redone. All of those labs are equipped with a lot of electricity, a lot of gas lines, all of those pieces, and we need to be very mindful through that. So those are major. And then other rooms you see at varying degrees. One of the things that they're looking at is which rooms make sense to expand, which rooms make sense to keep as is. You go to the third floor. Again, you still see a lot of the science as the majors in terms of the type of renovation. It is important to note that you see all the hallways are cosmetic. So on the Buchanan side, all the hallways are getting are HVAC, LED lighting, new ceilings, and painted walls. So the locker banks, all of those pieces, all the tile that's still on the walls, the terrazzo floor, all of that is still staying because there is no way from a budget standpoint, we're going to be able to do all of that and then still have the new addition. So over the next month, we'll still be working through things. We still have to get back into rooms, working with KCBA, working with Fidavia, and we'll be bringing back to you at the August Building and Grounds meeting a more extensive update. But the good news that I just wanted to provide is we're back in budget, which is great news. We're feeling good about where things are. We're going to keep plugging away and kind of see where this falls. And Fidavia is costing this out while KCBA is costing this out. So Fidavia is our construction management company. So they're doing that independently to KCBA, and then they're checking numbers and seeing how we're falling. And right now we're in line, which is good. So their market value is important that they're looking at. I'm trying to get the best pricing. We did have a brief, we had a meeting last night with some of the Building and Ground Committee members, and one of the things we started talking to them about, which we'll be bringing to the full board as we move forward, were potential bidding strategies and what that could look like when we go out to bid. So we'll be getting all that information to the full board as Fidavia and KCBA keep plugging away for those processes. So we're making good progress. We are on a good timeline still, but a lot of work has to happen over the next month, and then we'll be ready to bring you a big in-depth update at the end of August.
Just want to add that Fidavia, I'm confident, has the very experienced at bidding and getting a good contractor, because as you know, the state requires we take the lowest bid, but there's things that they can do that will help get good bidders. So they've got a whole strategy in play, and I'm confident they'll do a good job getting the right contractors for this job.
Mm-hmm.
I know how hard you've worked. I'm not on that committee anymore because you're spending more hours, and I have to say I'm glad I'm not the one doing that. But I really appreciate all the hours that are being put in by the administration as well as the committee, and of course our architect and project manager. Now, with all that, how many extra classrooms are we getting? And from what the original proposal was, are we losing classrooms?
We're currently down 6 from what we have today. Looking ahead to the new, and its potential that could still go up as we're still working through additional refinements.
So just so I understand, according to what we currently have,
We'll have 6 less.
6 less classrooms.
Yes.
And that's based on enrollment projections or cost, or what's the
Yep.
driving factor?
Based
for
on
the-
enrollment, based on scheduling, based on who's in classrooms, which period utilization of classes. What we're trying to do is do the best we can to maximize the classroom utilization so that classrooms are not sitting empty for a period of the day. So those are pieces that we're still working through, and we have to still iron out how many ultimately will we be either up or down. So that's still more work in the next month.
And the
Currently,
classrooms
we're
are
at 6.
larger. I apologize. Classrooms are also larger.
Yeah, the thing to keep in mind, the classrooms for the Franklin, for
That's
the
my
new building,
question,
they're gonna be
but
much bigger.
What I need to keep in mind
Yep.
to understand what's going on, because when I hear, wow, there's 6 less classrooms, but we're still have,
Right.
what's the trade-off?
Most of,
And larger classrooms are important. I mean, it's been a long time since I've walked through a classroom on a parent night, but I can remember going in some of those large classrooms and you have to like go sideways down. So I appreciate that for sure.
most of our current classrooms are around 660 square
Mhm.
feet. We're striving to get, when we can, 815
Mhm.
square foot per classroom.
Mhm.
So anywhere we can right-size rooms, that's what we're striving to get. Any of the new classrooms will be built in that range of 815. So that's what we're trying to work on around more of the perimeter of the building. It's not as easy just to go in and say, well, let's just take this room out. We don't need it if it's in the interior of the building because you've already built the square footage, so it has to be used for
How are
something.
you using
So that's why we have to look more on the perimeter, but we're still watching the flow of the building to make sure there's access by floor, make sure there's natural kind of a figure-8 movement, ability to get through aspects of the building. And Dr. Brossman, Ryan Orr from KCBA have spent an extensive amount of time going through room by room by room, looking at what needs to be done and bringing that information back. So we have work to do in the next month, but we're in good standing at this point, and I feel good about where we are and looking forward to the update at the end of August.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question on the, I know it comes down the line when we look at the furnishings
Yeah.
and things like that, but the current budget for those furnishings, I just want to assure that we have the money in that budget for the furnishings, that they're not just the cheap stuff that we can, do you know what I mean? Like, I want it to be things that will last.
Yep. So one of the things we've talked about is making sure the products we're looking to buy are not necessarily high end, but more durability, lasting long term. The quality is important. So when you look at the budget, that's kind of the breakdown, the soft cost budget of about 15.9 million, or all the soft costs within that. I want to say it was around 4 million, 4 point some million for all things connected to furniture, some of the technology pieces, things like that. Yeah, that's what we heard from the team on Monday, correct? Yep. So, yep.
So when the classrooms are combined, some classes in the same department don't combine all that well, like in art, for example.
Yep.
You have to have certain
Correct.
amount of space in for that. So as you combine those classrooms, are you in other areas as well taking a hard look at what that does in terms of,
Programmatics, curricular.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that we're still getting that quality education, which for many of those types of classes, it involves space.
Right. Like a good example, there is a science lab on the third floor? Second floor would be the third. That is a very small lab. And because of the size of it, a new lab is being built. So we're taking that lab away because we don't need that extra lab. And so it's those pieces that we're looking at, trying to literally go department by department, program by program, class by class, and then the usage of the space. So that's what Dr. Brossman and Ryan from KCBA have been spending a lot of time on over the last several weeks, and they're still working through that.
With an eye towards flexibility, I
Yep.
assume as
Correct.
the years roll
Yep.
out.
And that's one of the advantages even of the new science labs. Our current science labs are very fixed and stationary. The new science labs, everything will be built around the perimeter. And then there's
Mhm.
movable tables that come out as the science lab. So the example is there, like if we end up with a robotics class at some point and you can't have those tables coming out because you need more space, those tables can be pushed back and then you have the floor space to be able to do that. It's not going to be sedentary in terms of you're locked in. So in the new ones, yeah.
And I see that there are some things that have changed even since last
Yes.
night's meeting, so that makes me happy.
Yeah. So yeah, things are going to continue to evolve, but at the end of August, you'll get a nice in-depth update. What I got?
All right, so next on the agenda is lead water testing. That's Mrs. James going to talk about that.
As per school code, we are required to have a yearly discussion regarding the lead water testing. If you will recall, not this past school year, but the year before, we did conduct the testing. We had the testing done. After that testing was completed, a discussion was had, and it was decided that we would not do the testing this past school year. So we need to have a conversation regarding the testing for the current 25-26 school year. Something to keep in mind, I did have a conversation with a representative from the East Hempfield Water Authority. What they stated to me is that they are not required by the state to do, or their only requirement by the state is to do random testing within residential areas. So that's what they're required to do right now as the water authority. Their thought is that the state will at some point that require them that they have to do testing within schools. What that would look like is they would each year do a test within our school district, not through the whole school district, but taking random tests from various schools, but not the entire district. That has not happened yet. As if you recall, I had thought that perhaps the state would at some point mandate us to also have to do lead water testing. They have still not done that either. So that's just kind of a background for that. The last time the testing was done was in February of so was it done in the 23-24 school year? So it was done in February of 24. That would be seeing the cost there of $1,916 that it cost at that time.
I said this before in previous meetings, it doesn't take me very long to suggest that this is the biggest waste of $1,916. We do not have lead pipes. We've tested year over year. It's been negative. There'd be no reason that lead is in there unless somebody's pouring it in somewhere. It is a waste of $1,916. So I am not in favor of spending one penny on lead testing until it's required. And even if it's required, that's the silliest thing in the world when you've been testing negative. Unless we're back to using lead pipes in the new building, which I know we're not, there would be zero reason to test for lead.
In addition,
I agree.
in addition, I believe the levels were way, way low below. It was like next to, like,
And they were basically undetectable.
was it
but-
non-detectable?
And the discussion was had, that we were doing it several years in a row and the results weren't changing. They were all, so we weren't seeing any differences in the testing.
So no real reason to do it unless anyone has any
We just-
concerns.
We're just required by school code to have a yearly
Just got-
conversation.
Talk about it.
Yes.
If we're doing that.
Yes.
Mrs. Eshelman has a comment as well.
Nothing has changed since we had this discussion last year or the year before. I agree. It's not a lot of money, but we don't need to waste a little money any more than we need to waste a lot of money. So let's not do it.
Mrs. James, I had a question. When you said the East Hempfield Township Water Authority had to only test neighborhoods randomly, was that a certain amount of times randomly per year? Or I was just,
He didn't mention how many times they had to, or how many homes they had to do, but they only have to do it actually every 3 years. They don't even have to do it yearly.
Thank
My
you.
Sorry, Mrs. Eshman, for interrupting. My only question is, and I agreed last year we didn't need to pursue this, and that's probably where I'm standing right now, but I am not an expert on geology or water or any of those kind of things by any means. With the current situation with the East Hempfield Township water that we've had over the, spring and summer when the water tables were low and nitrate levels were therefore high, I have no idea. I don't think there's any correlation there, but I just wanted to ask whether there's any correlation with, could the lead levels be raised when it's all pipe related?
Right,
Yeah.
right. The lead levels are
I actually
based in
think
the pipe.
Nitrates are, I think, fertilizer too. So
Right, but it's.
Yeah,
it's- they're not- That's what I didn't think. I just wanted to confirm that.
the only way you're gonna get lead is lead pipes, and that's why the community, some old houses
I
probably still have
understand.
lead pipes. We don't have any lead pipes, and East Hempfield doesn't give us any lead in their water, correct? The township water.
Correct. I mean,
Okay,
yeah, they have standards that they have to meet.
right. Any further comments? All right, last.
So
the
what I'm,
general con-
what I'm hearing then is that you are telling me that you do not want me to
Right.
do any lead water testing for the 25-26 school year.
And then we have to talk about it again every year.
Yeah,
Is that what
correct.
you're saying? Okay,
Correct.
for school code, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the last item is this summer project update. Mrs. James gonna tell us a little bit what's going on in the district with
Yes.
projects?
Right. So we had quite a few paving projects, paving and concrete projects. We did a significant amount of the parking lot around the Centerville Middle School, along with replacing some sidewalks that needed that had chipped and cracked and so forth. And then we also did the long drive into Centerville Elementary School, ending at where the Centerville Elementary School parking lot starts. So you just see some pictures here. We did have a few unexpected surprises. There was not a lot of base, shall we say, when they started milling and so forth. They found that there's supposed to be a certain amount of stone that is so many inches of 4 inches of stone that's supposed to be there. In some areas of the Centerville Middle School parking lot, that was not present. So we did have to bring in some more stones and things like that. So unexpected few things there, nothing major, but some unexpected. Next. Moving on to the Landisville Middle School, we did the same thing, replacing some curbing that was cracked and so forth, some sidewalk that was cracked. And we did the full parking lot in front, side, and rear of Landisville Middle School. So if you get a chance to get over there, there's a few minor things that have to be completed yet, but the majority of it is completed, so it looks great. Again, a few unexpected areas that we thought we were going to be easier to do but those are the kind of things they're expected to happen. So just shows you a few pictures of what that looks like now. And
Mrs.
Yeah.
James, I was asked earlier this afternoon, I get to ask you this, but it's a good piece for everyone. The speed bumps for the Centerville campus,
Yes.
they'll be
Painted.
painted
yes, they
for
will.
the opening of school.
Yes.
Yep, that's what I
Yes.
thought, but just wanted to
Yes,
confirm.
yes, there was a problem with the one speed bump. There's supposed to be kind of an edge on it that is tapered on the sides, and the one speed bump going in the long drive was not tapered, and so they had to come back and make that repair. And so they were kind of waiting to do that until that repair was done to do any of the painting. There is still some more painting in the front of both of the schools regarding the bus loops and things like that. So they will be back to take care of that. But yes, they will be painted.
Right.
And then the fueling station. So work has begun on the fueling station. We have removed all of the tanks that is gone. New conduit has been installed. That needed to be done while we were working on the parking lot because the conduit comes from the maintenance building over to the fueling station. So the conduit has been run, and those inspections have been done, those inspections have passed. They'll be installing the concrete pads now for the fuel tanks to go on, and they also did a concrete pad in front of where the fueling stations are, so that when heavy trucks are being placed on, or when they're all sitting on there, they're not damaging the paving and making ruts in the paving as had happened before. So, next slide. So you just see some pictures here of that happening. You can see here on the right is where that white van is. That's where the new fueling stations are. You can see on the left is where, when they had the crane in there and they lifted it out and removed it from the site.
That's the old one?
Yep, on the left, yes.
Did we see how bad a condition it was? Did they say anything?
It was still in the casing, so we couldn't tell, but
Okay.
there was no damage as
leaks, yeah.
far as leaks or anything like that.
Right.
And if you notice out in the parking lot here, kind of near behind, in the back parking lot of the administration building, kind of to the side where the LEC is, we had to repair a drain in the parking lot. It was sinking. So here we go. And that has been repaired, and we are able to now, it's finished and we're able to park on it.
Any questions for Mrs. James? Any couple of these surprises and any significant cost, do you think, you talked about?
Well, we had put some allowances in our bid in the event that we found some surprises. So at this point, we haven't gone over budget or anything. But we did have to use some of those allowances, but that's why it fit into the
Okay.
into the purchase order.
All right, thank you. I believe that's the end of the buildings and ground. Anyone have anything else to bring up, buildings and ground wise? Excellent. Okay, so our next meeting for joint buildings and ground and finance will be August 26th. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
I'll do the second.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.